Yes.
But I don't know what the name of the song is.
Let's see. I gotta sign in.
So are we live?
Yes.
Okay.
Smile.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles.
Yeah. Gotta load up. Right now we're just waiting. Everyone's like signing in right now, saying hi. So. We're waiting. And we're waiting for the computer to load up. Okay, here we go. Are we on? Okay, good. And then let's open up the internet and go to Facebook. And here we go. And then here we open this up. And we do a new window. That's YouTube. Here we go.
I'm like amazing with this technology.
Okay, let's see. Turn down this. Alright, here we go. Everybody's gonna start commenting. Here we go, yeah, exactly. Changing chairs, that's right. Hello everybody. We are here. Finally warmed up here a little bit. Suzette notices our changing chairs. My button popped off. I've got the coronavirus diet. I'm losing buttons left and right. Nancy says, watching and waiting. Hello, Nancy. Hi, Diane. Uh-oh, gonna be so confused now. Larry Violette says, no food shortage there. Just saying. Oh, totally suffering here. Diane's here, and we got all kinds of people. Who else we got watching? We've got Diane, Lori, Mary Gelbach, Nancy, Greeley, Diana Mann, Christine Marie, Aiden's here, Mike Babata, Carrie, Bernadette, Karen, Isabel, Joe, Anthony, and Larry. All right. Larry's going to send us all the tough questions. Anthony says hi there. Hello, Anthony. Yes, Christine, we are messing with your OCD. We totally are. Deacon has a comfy chair now, Bernadette noticed. He's no longer shoved in the corner. All right, let's go. Well, he's in the corner now, just a different corner. And let's see, let's go over here. We've got over here, Daniel says, good evening, fathers. Joan says, a chair switch tonight. See, we knew this was going to be very popular. James says, good evening. Father Lundberg, Father Holmes, Deacon Gonzalez, may God bless all three of you. Thank you. Kelly says, God bless you. Dolores says, hi all. Okay. And we say hi to everybody who is joining us. And what else we got? Let's see, anybody over here? YouTube? Okay, no, we will go back. So yeah, we messed everything up. Anthony says, are y'all playing musical chairs? We are. We moved it around. Beth says, nice to see that Deacon Gonzalez is moving up. Yes. Christina Valentine's here. Malia's here. Kelly Kingett's here. Carolina's here. Sarah and Isabella. DeNapoli. Brooke's here. She said, did you get to open since you aren't in Nova? Do you get to open? Yes, since we aren't in Northern Virginia, we do. So we are finalizing details to open up Mass this weekend. And it's going to be crazy, but it's going to be great to see everybody. Nancy's here. Let's see. Kelly Gonzalez says, hang on. Okay. Muchas gracias por todo lo que hacen por el diácono Guillermo. Gracias por su ayuda, que Dios y la Virgen los bendiga. See, you know, we just take care of you. You do all the work. It's great.
That's the truth. He does all the work.
He does. Let's see what else we got going on here. Sarah says, buenas noches. Buenas noches, Sarah. You get to relax at home for a little bit. Father Peffley's here.
Oh, cool.
And Mary says, road trip to Winchester. Yeah, come on out. I don't know. I think we might have a lot of people coming out this weekend. We will find a way to get you in somewhere. And so our themes, flavors tonight, we got key lime. I wish I was in Florida. And then watermelon. I hadn't tried watermelon. That's a new one. One of our fans dropped off some watermelon. What else? Let's see. Diane says, do you realize you're competing with the season finale of Survivor? No, I did not know that. I didn't even know that was on. Christina says, maybe the Nova people will come to Winchester. Hey, it'd be great. You won't. I won't take your temperature, but if you don't give us a gift, we won't let you in. No, just joking. All are welcome. Maggie's here. Anna Marie's here. Mark Schlomer, hello, Father. Isaac says, everyone's in a different spot. Are you guys okay? Do you need supplies? Well, as you can tell, we are not wasting away to nothing, but we maybe lost a couple Corona pounds. And Whitney's here.
Wouldn't be bad.
Mary's here. Let's see what else we got going on. Let's see. So, tomorrow we've got the pastors have another Zoom call with the bishop to explain or to go over the diocesan policies for opening up. So the diocese said we're going to open up, and the governor came out with his decree. And then some of the counties, jurisdictions, cities up in Northern Virginia asked the governor for delay. So I think, what is it? Fairfax, Prince William County,
Loudon, you said.
Loudon,
Alexandria.
Arlington, Alexandria, a couple other places are closed. So a lot of inside the Beltway is closed, but down south, down 95 and out west here, we do have indoor plumbing and technology. You can always come and visit.
Tell Chris
We have
Lenz
air
when
conditioning.
What's that? Tell Chris Lenz when we have lighting, electrical indoor
We have
plumbing.
electricity, indoor plumbing. Let's see, here we go. Pam Beanbender says, I'm in Florida right now. It's beautiful. Pam, don't make us jealous, but it's a nice night to here tonight. Lisa Paul from Arlington. Lori says, I love that you aren't freaking about Northern Virginia coming to you. Lori, if I freak about everything that I could freak out about right now, I would not be drinking LaCroix. So I'm just trusting the Lord that we'll get through it. JJ's here. Karen's here. Whitney says, I love to see priests at rest. Yes, we are at rest right now. We just heard confessions. We earned our keep. Pam's back to Virginia on Saturday.
Keep tonight.
Ron's here. Let's see. Anna Fitzpatrick's here. So our plan is, based on some other parishes too, is we are going to alternate our masses on Sunday between spots so that we have time to clean and air out. So the 7:30 mass will be in the gym with some overflow there. We got to have our seating 6 feet apart, the rows 6 feet apart, all that. Then the church, the 9:15 will be in the church. There's a slight tweak. Instead of 11:15, it's going to be 11. We'll email that out. Everyone's going to show up late, but whatever. 11 o'clock will be in the gym again. Both have overflow sites. So you can come and find a spot in the church for your family or in your spot. You can also go to overflow in the church. Would be in Mildani Hall with streaming down there so you can watch and hear. Or over in the school, the mass will be in the gym with overflow in the multi-purpose room. So 7:30 church, gym, 9:15 church, 11 o'clock gym, 12:30 Latin Mass in the church, 2:30 Spanish Mass with some baptisms in the gym, and then 5:30 in the church. So ostensibly then, between the 7:30 in the morning, the next Mass is in the gym at 11. So that gives a time to clean, disinfect, air things out, get ready for you. The church has Mass at 9:15 and then at 12:30, so there's time to air all that out. We are figuring a way. We think that we can do confessions during Mass. We'll have a spot marked off where people can get to so they can still wait in line. You got a social distance. Do your examination of conscience 6 feet away from someone else. And then, so we'll get through the day, and then we'll see if we're still alive on Monday morning. Yes, Lori says, organized chaos. That's my specialty. Pat's here, Lena's here, Karen's here, Deacon Steve Clifford. Hello, Deacon. How's everything down at Woodstock?
Hopefully he's feeling well too. Hopefully
Yes. Carolina says, thanks for providing the Blessed Sacrament for us at night. Very comforting and essential for us. Yeah, it's been a little bit irregular, but what we're going to do too is our perpetual adoration system got disrupted because of this thing. So what we've been doing is some kind of night adoration, and then during the day it's been the church. Well, what we'll do is, because we're going to start having daily mass again, which will start Friday morning, so the night adoration will only go till about 5:30 or 6 in the morning. It's going to stop in the window. Then got to get ready, open up the church, get everything ready for mass. And then during the day, from basically 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., adoration will continue in the church. If there's a funeral or a wedding, during the week we don't have weddings generally, but if there's a funeral or conflict in the church, we'll temporarily move it during the day into the chapel, but not for too long. There'll be less chairs in the chapel too, so people can space out. And then on Saturday, adoration will probably go till about 3 and then stop. And then we have the confessions and the mass. And then there'll be some night adoration a little bit, but it won't be 24 hours a day, but it'll be a lot. Let's see. Diana says, a suggestion from the nurse, make the music instrumental. Singing really can spread COVID. Well, there won't be a lot of singing too, Diana. That was brought up in the task force, that when you sing, you spread. So there won't be a ton of music, because mass is going to be brief. People are going to be thrilled. We're going to have these short little homilies. And no, there's no collection basket. We'll have baskets out that you can put donations in. People from Northern Virginia will be monitored at all times. And then no offertory procession, no sign of peace, no bring up the gifts. And then mass will end, and then communion will be after mass. So mass will end, and we'll have communion there. And people then, if there's overflow, or people who are outside in their cars, they could come in. So let's see here. Lori says, great air out plan. Yeah, because at first the tricky thing was thinking, how would we have enough time in between masses to clean it and air it out and all that? And we stole this from another parish. Everything good is recycled. Another parish is doing that. So Jay's here, Colleen's here, Aileen from Washington State. Hello, Aileen.
Oh, nice.
Christy's here, Martha. Anne Marie says the plan sounds good. Well, it sounds good. Woo! We will see how it goes. And what else? And then Father Holmes and Deacon have been working around the clock, and they are ready for break two. Deacon gets ordained, God willing, June 6th.
God willing, yep. We talked to the bishop yesterday night.
Ooh, how'd it go?
He basically told us that he was going to, because of the whole reopening the state situation, he's going to delay diaconate ordination until
They're
June
gonna switch
13th.
that, yeah.
Yeah. And then he's gonna try really hard to keep our ordination on date, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless something terrible happens, but God willing it's not. So.
Well, as we spoke earlier too, we still have the priests who are gonna retire.
Right.
So you're gonna have to fill some parishes. It makes sense to go ahead and ordain the deacons to the priesthood, because then they could be put into assignments, and that would also help to shore up
Totally.
other
Well,
situations.
Guillermo can get ordained and become a pastor right away.
Would you
He's
like
just
that?
been living through COVID. He knows everything.
He does. He's very tech savvy. He's very pastoral. He's wonderful.
He can put up with us.
Oh,
So
that's a job in and of itself, Father. Putting up with us.
it is, but it's all right. So anyway, so that's going on. So we will be back to daily mass on Friday, 7 and 8:30 in the morning, and Saturday, and then we'll see how this goes, because I think the first weekend, because of the timing with some of the information coming from the diocese, we couldn't do a mailing, but we will email everybody. We'll put it on the website. We'll put it on social media, Facebook, everything, so people can spread the word. And I think, people who are sick, vulnerable, older population are probably going to self-police. And so I think that people are going to come crashing in the first weekend, but I think it'll probably be pretty full. All our friends from Northern Virginia will come and make up for it. And we want to pray also right now for Father Tamil. He is in India, and he's getting ready for Mass. He's saying Mass for the Cloistered Carmel Convent. He's praying for us, for Father Holmes and Deacon and me, and for all of you. And he has asked us, and I keep forgetting to mention it, we really want to pray and see what we can do maybe to help his people, because the people there are so poor and they're under lockdown and they have nothing. They're trying to find some help for the poor people and, for relief, and the poor sisters in the convent. And he just said it's really a nightmare. He said, pray for our diocese. We're writing to different people requesting help out for our poor people, especially the families of widows, destitute, orphans, and abandoned, the aged. and the convents. So let's see what we can do for Father, and thank him for our prayers. Okay, Diana says, are you encouraging face covers? Yes, we are. It's not required, but the diocesan directives that are in the works, they're not totally final, but I think they are pretty final. You know, if there's an expectation that people would wear face masks, it's not an absolute, requirement for admission. And I've talked to people who have questions both ways about it, and I just point that on some level it's an act of charity. You may not particularly. There are some people who don't want to wear face masks. Again, I can't force them. But I think as a general rule, I think most people probably will wear them initially. So yes, that will be part of the expectation. Pat says, sounds logical. Do we know yet when the dispensation will be lifted? I am planning to wait a bit due to age and health conditions. Yeah, no problem, Pat. The dispensation is still in place. I cannot imagine the dispensation is going to be removed anytime soon. Because there's so much variety, there's so many people who are sick. Perhaps at some point there'll be maybe a narrowing of the dispensation, like anybody who is sick or caring for them or an age group. But for people in a healthier population. But at this point, dispensation's still in place. There is nothing wrong with waiting and staying at home. Let's see. Aileen says, Aileen from Washington State, is there any historical basis for ordaining deacons early? I think we might have been confusing. That is interesting and amazing. So in our diocese, Aileen, the ordinations for the diaconate are usually the week before the ordinations for the priesthood. So a guy who's because Aileen and her family came to our class's ordination, because I went to high school with Aileen's sisters. And wonderful, wonderful family. And very good, involved with the pro-life movement in the church out in Washington State. And Aileen's very involved with the SIDS Foundation to help with preventing SIDS. So typically in our diocese, usually about your 5th year in seminary, if you do 2 years of pre-theology and 4 years of theology. Usually your 3rd year of theology is when you're ordained a deacon. Now Deacon Guillermo was in a religious community, and he had spent more time in formation. So he got ordained a deacon just 6 months, ostensibly, before his ordination to the priesthood. Normally it would have been about a year. But, so it's always a year, not always, it's generally a year before the priesthood ordination that you're ordained a deacon. But in sequence, in our diocese, diaconate ordinations are one weekend, priesthood are the next. So, let's see. Here we go. Chris is here. Suzette says, do every priest eventually become a pastor? Some of us try to avoid it.
It's not required, at least traditionally. I know under Keating, and I would assume it's the same under Burbage, if you said to the bishop, Your Excellency, with due respect, I don't feel I have either the temperament, the gifts, or the desire, he's not going to put a gun to your head and say, you must be a pastor.
Right.
Don't do that. A lot of it's a question of discernment, where they think a man's gifts might best be used. And it's sort of interesting, because I do think there are some people who are perhaps by either temperament or gifts more naturally cut out. Some people are just very good administrators. Some people are great finance people. Some people are very organized. Some people are good with hospital ministry or jail ministry, or so I think they try to take a lot of these factors into account, and all of us serve with the needs of the bishop. So
yeah, it's interesting, because for some people, most of the things in my life I've kind of had to be forced into. It's like, I don't want to do that yet. I don't know, you're going to do it, So I was grateful in our diocese that there is in some dioceses, because of need, guys can get ordained, and in a year or two they're a pastor. Do you know guys in seminary?
Yes, totally. Most of my classmates, when I talk to them, they tell me in a few years I'm going to be a pastor. And I'm always telling them, well, it's going to take me around 10 years
Yeah, exactly.
to become a pastor.
In our diocese, it's usually 10, 12 years, sometimes more. And so it just kind of depends, what's the need. And so, on some level, right, it would just seem like the procession is, after several assignments, you become a pastor. But also sometimes that people have special ministry, or like Father said, they may think about being a pastor, or they don't want to be a pastor, they talk to the diocese about it, so it kind of depends. Let's see here. She said, do some priests choose not to become the leader of a church? Well, ultimately, it is, Suzette, it's, it's a combination of the bishop kind of discerning with the presbyteral, or the personnel board about the needs of the diocese and where people's gifts fit. And then, also the conversation. A priest could refuse, he gets asked. Let's see. Martha says, so are we welcome to come from Arlington? Well, Martha, I'm not going to extend a general invitation to everybody, but church is open on Sunday, and we'll do our best to accommodate everybody. Grandma Farley's here. Chris is greeting us from Brick, New Jersey. Work always takes Chris all over the place. So, Kate is here. Jimmy Frisbee's here. Margaret B. Wright's here.
Margaret. She's so wonderful.
She is. Okay. Lori says, Father Lundberg, does your church have low gluten hosts for your gluten-free people? I sent an email, but I didn't check for any answer. My pastor was just wanting to take any suggestions you had over doing research here. If you don't do this, I think I have a line on some that are legit. We have some low gluten hosts that we could use. We've, in the past, either at daily mass or at some weekend masses, you always have the availability of the chalice. We can't do the chalice right now, so it's kind of an interesting question because people have asked, what do we do? Right now, we won't have the chalice. I'll talk to Father Holmes. I don't know. On some level, we might see if we could maybe have a small supply of low gluten hosts. The difficulty would be someone would need to let us know in advance that they're at the mass, and we try to make our best accommodation for that. Because we probably have to consecrate it in a separate, pyx. Let's see. Grandma Farley says, hello, Father from Dover, Delaware. How's life up in Dover? I hope you guys are doing well. Beth is here. Aileen says, by the way, I love Rectory Chat. Thank you for all you've been doing to minister us. Wish I could be your parishioner. We want to see you. We'll welcome people from Arlington, and you can come from Tacoma or Browns Point, Washington, and come out. Ken's here, Dill's here, Maria is here. Suzette says yes, thanks. Father Scalia's here, Michael's here. Christina says, do people have to sit apart from each other in the pews? You have to have, families can sit together, so couples could sit together, but if you're by yourself, you sit 6 feet. The next group or unit is 6 feet apart from the other group. So a family, would be about 6 feet as much as possible from the next person. So, and then Father Scalia says, why did you switch chairs? And what's your theme song? We did switch chairs because I want to be creative, see if people are paying attention, and we haven't picked a theme song yet. I have to figure out how to do music.
Ask him if he's got any suggestions.
Father, do you have a theme song? I don't know if I want suggestions from you, but you can give them to us. And I think over at Colonial Beach they have a theme song, so I got to figure out how to do that. Mary's here. Till says, these chats are always informative. Thanks, Father. You're welcome. Rosemary's here. Lori says, thanks. I just want to know where you are buying them from. I'll email the office. Yeah. Right now, generally, what we do for low gluten people is the chalice. So right now, we're going to have to relook at that.
I think I'm not sure if we purchased them, but I thought the main company we get most of the hosts in the country anymore is Kavanaugh.
Well, we used to get our hosts from a company, and now we're getting them from cloistered nuns in Pittsburgh.
Okay, all right.
So we have to check on see if they produce low gluten hosts.
I think Kavanaugh is the big seller distributor in the U.S., but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong.
Let's see. Anna's here. Anna Marie's here. Jane's here. Ray says, has this crisis hit the church financially? Have people kept their donations up? It's a good question, Ray. We right now, we're at about 82% of our normal collection. So all things considered, that's really great because we probably get 65% of our collection from the basket being passed. 35% was from Faith Direct, which is our electronic giving program, which is a little bit higher than most parish averages, but since this has started, people have really kindly continued to bring their donations and drop them off. We've had more people register for Faith Direct. We have had people use PayPal or electronic giving in that form. And so we're kind of curious to see, you know, as Mass starts up again, I think some people might have been waiting to drop off donations that way. And so we've been really grateful. People have been really, really supportive. Let's see here. Hang on a second. I'm getting 15 different messages at once. I gotta text somebody. Yes. Daily Mass starts on Friday. Regular schedule. Okay, here we go. Back to questions. Dolores says, will we be able to see Mass on Facebook? Yes, we are going to continue streaming the Masses. The tricky part right now is we'll be streaming from the church and the gym. And daily Mass, I got to figure out how we're going to do that. But daily Mass can be done from the church. We just got to figure out. It's doable. We just got to figure out a system, make sure it happens. Tim says, hello from Dulles, watching on my lunch break. My coworkers think I'm watching Church Lady from Saturday Night Live. Go away and let me enjoy my lunch. That is great. Hi, Tim. I'm sorry that our adoration at night has been inconsistent, but we'll try to keep that consistent now for the next couple weeks, next month at night. So tell me, this is Church Chat with the Church Lady. It's with the priest.
There's no Guido Sarducci here.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get out our Saturnos and we can be Guido Sarducci and some sunglasses. That'd be hilarious. Mandy says, good evening, guys. Tuning in from Petersburg, West Virginia. I love listening to your guys chat. We are planning on coming to visit your parish sometime soon. Hey, this is great.
Come this weekend.
Come to Sacred Heart. Saturday at 5:30 or Sunday at 7:30, 9:15, 11 o'clock, 12:30, 2:30 Spanish, 5:30 in the evening. Mark says, Father Scalia totally has everyone thinking about what your theme song should be. Totally, exactly. So we're going to have a theme song. I can think of some very funny ones, but I don't want to say anything right now. Okay, let's see here. Rosemary says, hello. Linda's here. Lori says, okay, Father Scalia, if you want to tell me where to suggest St. Mary Order low gluten hosts from, I would also take your advice. Father Scalia says, creativity is overrated in theology. I can suggest theme songs. Okay, well, I want to say so many snarky things right now. Okay, Cynthia's here. Conchetta Kimbrough's here. It's Conchetta, we look forward to school opening up again, and not just digitally. Isaac says, how many other priests, fireside chat, do other Arlington priests conduct? Well, Isaac, I am so happy you asked that question, because Father Scalia is joining us, and he does it. And I think he might have a theme song. So you should check him out. Father Scalia says, as for money, go to www.sacredheartwinchester.org and see how you can give. PayPal, Faith Direct, soda, wine, keto food products. But we need money. Christopher is here. Darlene Kent's here. The Kents are here. Suzette said, is that a song? Irma's here. Joan joined us. Christina says, do you have to count the number of people that come into the church? From what I understand, Christina, the way it's going to work, that's not going to be an issue because we've roped off half of our pews so that you can only use half of them. And then even within the pews, people have to socially distance. So if we just had half the population come that we could fit in the church, it would be about 400 people. But with the space, the social distancing, it's going to be less. So we'll be, I think, definitely below 50%. And then in the gym, we are figuring out how many chairs would be half the capacity, and then we're spacing those in rows out 6 feet apart. Diana says, my husband still calls it Mass for the shut-ins. Well, now we have to come up with a new version of that. Leon is here. Got my 4th grade classmates here. Diana says, at the Basilica of St. Mary in Alexandria, we get our low-gluten host from Munley Church Goods in Vienna, Virginia. Thanks, Diana, for reminding me where we get it from. Munley, that's where everybody gets their stuff from. So, Lori, look up Munley. I think they have them. And Leon did point out, you did it, the old switcheroo. We moved around our seats. Jeffrey's here. Lori, thanks. Diane, appreciate that, trying to plan ahead. Christina says, all I think about are logistics. I know, Christina. You are so gifted, and I am not. But I'm having to learn. Let's see here. Sarah joined us. Mark says, I think Father Scalia may be trying to get new material for Rectory Ramblings. Yes, because that... Oh, yeah, to answer the question, Father Scalia's show is Rectory Ramblings over at St. James. And then Father DeRosa and Father Schaefer have, I don't know what they call theirs, Rectory Talks or something. And they are over, of course, at St. Elizabeth's in Colonial Beach. So those are the three I know about. Irma said, could families sit close together? They do at home. Well, families, absolutely. Family members should sit close together. Families don't need to distance. You know, you want to fight with each other anyways. So you're going to have to be squished sit next to each other. And then, but then other families need to be a distance. Let's see. Let's see here. What else we got here? Any other messages here? Okay, we're plugging along. All kinds of exciting things going on. Now this has been very interesting. We've gone through, Guillermo has gone through 8 weeks of the craziest pre-ordination time in history. Now, other than Pope John Paul, whose 100th birthday is on Monday, St. John Paul. So tell people, you're with us till about what date, and when do you go on your priesthood retreat?
So our priesthood retreat starts on May 31st and it ends on June 5th.
Okay.
And then God willing ordination is on June 6th.
Okay.
And then my assignment, I actually have an assignment letter from the bishop that says that I'm stationed here until ordination. So,
Ooh.
So hopefully I will be learning soon where what my next assignment is going to be.
Father Holmes and I are going to blackmail people, bribe people, slaughter chickens on the roof at midnight and howl at the moon. Let's see, Christina says, hopefully all these chats continue once we're back to normal. Yes, Christina, they are. We're going to continue with the chats. Irma says, so they could use up the pew space. Yay for pew-sized families. Yeah, a big family, they can fill in. You could have a good family with a bunch of kids and then space and maybe some empty nesters next to them. Let's see. But, Father, how's the M37 coming?
Well, we ordered a new fuel pump and we rebuilt the carburetor, so if we've got time when I get back from my dentist tomorrow, we'll try to get it put back together and see if it'll fire up, and we'll go from there.
So but you put the fuel pump in, right?
No, we took the old one off, and we took the carburetor off, so I got a parishioner who's helping. He tinkers around with a lot of old cars. I used to tinker around with the music, but I don't have tools anymore. It really wasn't that hard to get it off. The fuel pump is quite large for a small motor, which is sort of interesting. But on that fuel pump, you have a line that comes off a vacuum line which runs the wiper blades, which we talked about that with your old Rambler, because years ago, cars before we had electric wiper blades, they ran off engine vacuum. Problem is when you push the engine and you're going up a hill, the vacuum drops, and so your wipers, instead of going like this, make something like that. I haven't really had to use them that much yet, but hopefully we'll see what happens. Hopefully that'll fix the problem.
Father Scalia has contributed to our theme song discussion.
Uh-oh.
I think this is what they use at their parish, Ramblin' Fever by Merle Haggard. And so
you would know that.
I love Merle Haggard, but I think Father Scalia, what I will do is if we're going to pick Merle Haggard, I'm going to pick Big City, because Big City turned me loose and set me free. You'll leave stinking Arlington and come on out to Winchester. We'll have a little fight there. But I could use some Merle Haggard. Greg is here. Stephen, Diane Tillotson's here. Jonathan Knox is here. Joan says, joined a little late here, but here again from Calabash, North Carolina. Oh. Joan, how's life down in North Carolina? Hope things are well. And again, Joan worked at St. Charles Seminary when we were in seminary in Philly. Nice. She has a lot of stories about all priests she knew. Mary Galbach says, praying for Deacon as he prepares for ordination.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Nancy says, was listening to the Rectory Chat at St. Elizabeth earlier. They need cleaning supplies to disinfect between masses. They were begging for help. That's true. So one of the things, right, that we have to do in between masses is to clean and disinfect, frequently touched surfaces, door handles, many parts of the pews, things like that. And so, we've been talking here with our cleaning crew about how we're going to do it and the supplies we'll use. But if you might consider making a donation to St. Elizabeth's, because that's a small parish out in Colonial Beach in the Northern Neck, and it's not large, and they really could use some help out there.
And also when they go, Father, as you mentioned, when they go to the local parishes, maybe if they're comfortable bringing their own hand wipes.
Yes, and another thing we'll communicate. In addition, we're gonna have this cleaning protocol, and we're gonna ventilate and air out the gym and the church. The cleaning, disinfecting process, all that. But I would suggest for people, as an even added layer, you might want to bring additional wipes with you from your home, like in your purse or whatever. You have one of those Costco-sized Mary Poppins purses you can pull out and wipe down the spot by your family or where you're sitting, because the one thing I'm kind of worrying about is, I didn't realize this, all these wipes that everybody's using, like on the pews and the cleaning stuff, that it wears off the finish of the pews. We're going to have to redo the pews. So maybe we'll have a pew campaign. Pew, pew. So anyway, cleaning. But again, individually, if you want to bring something with you, that can be helped too. Let's see here. Got to send another message here. Let's see. All kinds of exciting things going on here. Mm-hmm. Okay, what do we got here? Lori says, did they say what they can clean their pews with? The brewery here has donated some sanitizer to churches. Oh, that's great. So the brewery in Fredericksburg has given some sanitizer.
We used to have theology talks there.
Yeah, right. So I wonder, maybe we can start seeing if we can get some people. I think some people actually have donated some stuff to the school. So I got to see about that. Alexander Molnar Shahida's here. Andrea Delgado Espinosa's here. And Andrea, congratulations on your baby. So excited, your new baby. We got to set up for the baptism. Ariana's here. Renee Moore, praying for everyone as we make this transition to try to be normal again. Well, we're not normal here at Sacred Heart. But yeah, we're excited having Mass again. Nancy says, I haven't been able to find hand wipes. Keep trying. Pray. Brian is here also, Brian and Alex. Teresa Kramer, can you address church hopping during this time if Northern Virginia churches do not open? Some are talking about going to other towns where churches will have Mass, since Nova churches will not open for another 2 weeks. Well, part of it's a prudential judgment. On one level, right, what can you say? You could say all the churches in Northern Virginia, I think, would like to be open. And because of the hot spots in Fairfax, Prince William County, Alexandria, Arlington, all these things, you can see why their local jurisdiction was saying, hey, we're freaking out. But parishioners obviously, want to receive the Blessed Sacrament, receive Holy Communion. So I would just presume, if I was a lay person, I probably would be thinking, well, where can I go for Mass? So I assume that's going to happen. We also have the reality too that we may see people coming from West Virginia, nearby, our neighbors. And, I've talked to other people like up near Maryland, or people from Maryland going to try to come into Northern Virginia eventually, things like that. But I think in Maryland it's a little bit trickier. But so I think you got to pray about it, and I certainly is a noble aspiration to be able to go to Mass, and the obligation is still suspended, so someone obviously isn't committing a sin if they don't get to Mass. But I think there are going to be people who will be driving. I'm trying to figure out how we will accommodate who's coming now, and we don't know who's coming. So, the backup thing too to keep in mind is if you come out to Sacred Heart or something like a situation like this, we have some spaces in the church, we have some spaces in overflow seating, and then somebody could be in their car, because that also goes with the governor's directive. You could, in your car, listen on your phone, use Facebook or something, or YouTube to watch, and then, at the end of Mass, you can come up and to receive communion. So that's certainly a possibility.
There was a movie some years ago, I'm sure you've seen it. I believe it came out in 1963. The Lilies of the Field with Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Yeah.
It's a great movie. It's about an African American who is a kind of a handyman, kind of a drifter a little bit, and winds up in this southwestern town, probably Arizona, New Mexico area, with these Benedictine nuns who had come all the way from Germany.
Oh.
And the mother appears like, Schmidt, you're going to build us a chapel, you know, and he's, you know, and eventually he does get dragged in, and he does build her a church. But there's a great scene in the movie, and talking about social distancing, they're about an eighth of a mile, there's about a dozen of them, and they're all walking to mass in fully clothesed Benedictine, and they're probably dying with the wimples all perspiring, and he picks them up, and he's got this beat up old station wagon, he picks them up and drives them. There's a Franciscan priest who comes out and says mass on the tail end of the tailgate of his station wagon, and just that one scene, if you can remember the movie, The Lilies of the Field, go back and look at that one scene. It's a novel, but it's so reminiscent of the sacrifices that people have been willing to make for the centuries to travel, because they did want to do grace. Benedict XVI, when he was a newly ordained priest, he said when he was a newly ordained priest in Germany, he said people would walk miles to wear out a pair of shoes to get the priest's first blessing.
Well, and you would get stories, you know, here in Winchester, you know, with St. John's and Front Royal, and these other mission parishes, because it's interesting, because Bishop O'Connell, who was the rector of the North American College and everything, he was pastor here at Sacred Heart in Winchester. He was a priest of the Richmond Diocese.
Yes.
He was here briefly. But when you hear stories about like Monsignor Selinsky, John Selinsky, you know, when he was a young priest, he was on the mission band, and they would have this kind of like truck
trailer,
and they trail around. Yes, they drive around and set up shop and say mass. I mean, some of these stories are wild. Father Gould was telling some of those crazy stories.
Monsignor in Richmond, the former Vicar General, Monsignor, his name escapes me now. He's retired, but he did that also.
Yeah, so...
Roy Cosby, Monsignor Cosby.
Monsignor Cosby. Ooh, should have some soup. Have a sandwich. Let's see here. Okay, go back here. Let's keep going back. Nancy was saying you can... Suzette replied to Nancy, you can make your own hand wipes. I don't know how to do that. Check it out online. Kevin's here. Mark Brumley is joining us. He says, gentlemen, it's good to see you.
Nice.
It's good to have you, Mark.
From Catholic Answers?
Yes.
Okay.
So welcome to the Valley. Lori says, Maryland people definitely asking. I will send them your way. Well, it's going to take a long drive, but I'm not commenting. Anthony Rulli, is there a 5:30 mass this Saturday? Yes, there is. It's going to be in the gym because confessions Saturday afternoon are at the school. And it's just going to be easier to roll in from hearing confessions at the school and going into the gym. Joan from North Carolina, she says, Governor of North Carolina is being cautious and safe, which I think is good. Just in phase 1, we're still self-isolating. Pat was saying, great movie. She loves Lilies of the Field. You've got to watch it.
It's worth it.
William
Absolutely
Newton
worth it.
has joined us, I think, from D.C. Welcome. Joan says, good movie, Father. Jackie Dupuy's here. Okay, Diana Mann from the Nurse again. It is estimated 50% of COVID patients are asymptomatic, so those of us in the hot spots could be sharing COVID inadvertently. Just a thought, prayerfully consider if this is a charitable thing to do. Oh, from the point of driving around, you know, going to different parishes. It's a good point. Mm-hmm. Amalia is here. Anna Fitzpatrick here. Donna Crane's here. Teresa says, I'll have to check out the movie. I just don't want to travel and take a parishioner's place. I hope that makes sense. Okay, Teresa, that's a great question.
That's a good point too.
Yes, in charity, that's a great thing. I think right now, the next couple weekends, we don't know what it's going to look like. Next Rectory Chat, we might be telling you, go away, you know. But I think we'll be okay. This weekend is really unusual. I don't know.
And I think the dispensation aside, oftentimes the moral laws bind not so much proactively, but perhaps prescriptively. So in other words, we could say, like with the commands, don't do this, thou shalt not. But like if there's a burning building, you can't force someone to go into a burning building and save life. If you do it, it might be heroic, and you may well save a life, lose your life in the process, but we can't order people to go into a burning building. So the dispensation is still in place for the Mass, but it's a fair point. Could she take someone else's spot who might otherwise want
But, I mean, I guess the thing is, as a general sense, I presume it, or wouldn't be surprised, or it wouldn't be unlikely if people in the neighboring area might come by. For us, it's more like from West Virginia, because I think, you know, people in different parishes, you know, we'll see what different parishes in the area are going to do. I mean, at this point, it's so kind of up for grabs. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if people are generally going to stay home right now and be gun shy. Because I think, too, what they'll do is they'll see the streaming masses this week and they'll kind of see what it looks like. They might say, oh, I'm not ready, or yeah, I'm ready to go, and look how they did it, you know. So I would not, I would pray about it. I mean, I don't think it's wrong. I think out of piety and love for the Eucharist, if you want to try to go to Mass somewhere, I don't think that's a bad thing. You just kind of have to consider, you know, your options. You know, if there's a parish closer to you that's open, hit them first. Leon posted the scene you talked about. We built a chapel, the movie clip from YouTube. Alan, my classmate, Alan, Father Kaparis, is joining us. Hello, Father Bjorn. Hope you're well, my brother. Me too. How are things up in New Jersey? I hope you're doing okay. Things are going on there. Let's see here. We gotta go back over this other one. Mark says, "Stay with us, Deacon Guillermo." Yeah.
Oh, we'd love to.
He's got that nervous laugh. You're like, I'm getting out of here as quickly as I can.
I've been here for almost 2
years
now, and I've been having a great time. But it's not up to me to decide whether or
Maybe
not.
we could put in a good word with Father Scalia.
Yeah, that's right. If Father Scalia's still watching, we will not put you on the hot seat.
We don't want to put him on the hot seat either.
Lisa is here. Mandy says, do you guys have CCD for children, and when would that be? Well, right now, we have been, I gotta double check on that, how they've been doing some streaming things with some of the catechists. Yeah. Right now we have to figure out how to start scheduling our first communions, and we're getting our details lined up for the Pentecost Vigil Mass. We might have a special Mass just for that. I mean, a later one, kind of like the Easter Vigil, for our RCIA people. Because now we were trying to figure out what would we do if we just had 10 people. But now we can do more. Okay, our town is predominantly Protestant, and we have no children in the parish besides 2 kids. I am looking for a CCD program so my kids can fellowship with other Catholic children. Mandy, I mean, it'd be great. I mean, you're over in West Virginia, but you know, reach out to us or be in contact. Send me a message, and we'll see what we could do. Antonia is here. Let's see. Irma says, Lilies of the Field is one of my favorite movies. Blake joined us. Sandy's here. What else we got? Any other mess? Nothing on? Maria Flores on YouTube says, Buenas noches. It's not one of your questions from El Salvador, but we'll see.
Guillermo has a large fan club, El Salvador.
He does. So, you're here until the 30th. Yes?
Yes.
So you're here for 2 more weeks. We think Guillermo's going to be gone.
He's probably thinking, what more can they torture me with
yeah,
2 weeks?
2 weeks? Boy, what can we... Guillermo can paint the building, fix the roof. And then, just when things are picking up back to normal, we'll kick you out.
Oh, if I can throw out another book suggestion.
A book suggestion.
Book suggestion. It's called The Hermit of Cat Island. The Hermit of Cat Island. And it's about a man, his name was John Cyril Hawes, H-A-U-H-E-S or H-U-W-S. Anyway, John Cyril Hawes, who is an architect in Australia.
Okay.
And he built a lot of churches in Australia. And he came up to Cat Island, which is in the Bahamas. He converted, became a Catholic priest, and lived as a Franciscan hermit. He died in, I think, Miami or South Florida, like 1958 or 1959. The Hermit, it's a great story. It's a true story. It's about him building churches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the other things he did. The Hermit of Cat Island. I don't remember the author's name, but very enjoyable read. So when you talk about painting and building, he was moving his canoe. He was using his canoe to move wood and stuff to build his churches, and it was amazing.
Oh.
Even as
It's
it
like
was
a
old
different
age.
version of Babette's Feast almost, but
Oh.
I love that movie. Let's see here. What do we got going on here? Anybody else with any comments? Jackie says, I have to say I feel like we're grown spiritually during this time. While I do miss receiving the Eucharist, you have all made virtual adoration available daily, and we've been going to outdoor confession, these Catholic fireside chats, masses every day online. It's been really amazing. Thank you for all you've done for all of us. Well, it's great, Jackie. I'm glad, we're glad we could help. I think it's been interesting. I mean, this is a stupid way of putting it. I think a lot of good things are coming out of it. You can see, I think, God at work. I mean, obviously, more profound theological statements from Father Leonard. God is always at work. But, I think our Lord is doing a lot of good in our soul searching and our prayer lives, having to kind of look at our...
That could be our theme song, Father Twilight Paris. God is in control. It's a little bit of kind of charismatic.
We could do Twilight Paris, or we could do, what's the other one?
Merle Haggard?
Days of Elijah.
I don't know that one.
Oh, that's a good one. These are the days of Elijah. My friend Christina Valentine, who's with us, she would know that song. That's a Steubenville song.
I'll have to look that up.
Oh, I'll play for it later. We could be totally go charismatic, hands in the air.
Oh.
But so back to Jackie, we're ignoring her. You're welcome. It's been interesting. We've grown a lot. We've done a lot of stuff. I'm looking forward to a time in the next month or two where I can sit down and breathe. And being back to the normal busy would be great. Lindsay is here. Bob joined us. Marie is here. Marie Janow's here. Christina points out, by the way, John Paul the Great's 100th birthday is on Monday. Yes, that is a big day for us JP people, because 100th year anniversary of his birth, and he's going to be granting, I'm sure, lots of favors on that
And
day.
I think I heard his parents are talking about opening his parents' cause for canonization.
Yeah, the Archdiocese, I think, of Krakow has
Okay.
opened up his cause. I mean, his parents' cause.
Parents' cause.
Um, Joan says West Virginia can open churches on May 4th with limited gatherings. I think, there's different phases I've read about the plan in the Diocese of Wheeling, Charleston, where different parishes are presenting plans, I think, to the Chancery and getting approval about how they're going to reopen. Kate Breen points out
Nice.
Peter Anson is the author of Cat Island. So, yes, Christine says, yes, Steubenville shout out for Twilight Paris. Let's see, Suzette Young loved going there with the youth group. Yeah, those youth group, it was so funny, Suzette, we took a group of kids several times from John Paul the Great when I was there, and we take kids from Sacred Heart also. And I remember one time we had a bunch of these lacrosse players and these kids, and we're there, and it's that Saturday night, what do you call it? Festival of Praise. And they are, the Blessed Sacrament's going, their priests carrying the Blessed Sacrament everywhere, and they're doing all this music, and there's this group of kids in front of us, and they're crying and crying, and they've been there before, and some of them are getting slain and doing all this stuff. I'm just thinking, these kids from John Paul are going like, what on earth is going on? So I turned to one of the kids next to me and I said, I know this is a little bit different. And he goes, don't worry, Father, we're staying strong. So I don't know if my kids were getting into the spirit of everything. Bob says, cooking crock pot split pea soup for the first time. I will enjoy it all day while working from home tomorrow. Hey, you're making me jealous. Ray, okay, here we go. Ray Pastor. I feel bad changing the subject with everyone talking about return to Mass, but here goes. I've wanted to do something different with the kids other than movies or video games. I thought I could put together an age-appropriate Dungeons and Dragons adventure for them, but then someone in the family got very concerned that the girls would be in trouble for saying they played it with their dad. I told her it was an 80s concern of evangelical Christians, and that Catholics know there's a line to be drawn, so as long as you remember that it's simply a game and entertainment. Any thoughts on this? Keep in mind you could make an argument that Star Wars is about space wizards and say that's demonic. What are your thoughts? If you wish to discuss this offline, I'm more than happy to. Ray sent the question earlier. It's been a crazy day, so I couldn't get back to you. I don't know. Before Dave, any thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons?
I can't offer any opinion on it. I can say with Star Wars, the two things about Star Wars, if you look at the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, who is miraculously conceived by the midichlorians, which is sort of a slap perhaps at the Immaculate Conception.
Okay.
And also this thing about in Star Wars, the Force, it's sort of, this, I don't know, it's sort of innocuous, I suppose, but, I remember having a friend when, I think it was Revenge of the Sith came out, not really liking it, making comments about it because of it, but I don't really know much about Dungeons and Dragons. I think like anything else, I think I'd agree. We need to be kind of careful not to cross a line. I'm not sure where that line would be for that particular video game. I don't know, maybe Deacon could...
Did you play Dungeons and Dragons at all? Any thoughts?
No, but in general, I guess I can say, you know, if a parent is helping their children and they know what they're doing, I think that's a good sign that they can work on it and help their children. But if they're doing it on their own, then I might have some concern with
I'd
that.
agree.
Yeah.
I think parental oversight is always a good thing.
So I think these are great considerations. I think to reassure in this case, your wife who had questions, that no, there's no, I'll probably get shot for this. There's not an open big concern on my part if you are doing this with your kids right now. I never got into it because I'm not too organized as a kid, but I did play Dungeons and Dragons with some friends growing up as a kid in Northern Virginia, and obviously it didn't move me to get into the occult. I had no temptations to get into magic. We talked about this a little bit, a couple sessions back.
Mm-hmm.
The question about Harry Potter, and I think there are some legitimate questions people raise, but I've heard legitimate opinions on both sides of things with that. So I think that when you have a foundation where mom and dad are involved, and you introduce them to good Christian literature in the sense of like C.S. Lewis, Chronicles of Narnia, or Tolkien, Lord of the Rings. The idea of the imagination, dragons, Chesterton's so good on this, the idea of fighting evil, the idea of good versus evil, the supernatural outlook, because again, one of the big losses in the modern world, we don't have much of a sense of the transcendent. We have so, in effect, stripped down the mystical and the sacred that, our worship in many ways is so boring, and for a lot of reasons. And it's not to point fingers, it's just, we stripped this otherworldliness aspect of life, and we instinctively want that. I mean, Bishop Barron makes the point, this focus and obsession with zombies or with, vampires, all these kinds of things. It's a weird way of us seeking eternal life, that we're not going to just die and go away. And so I think the question of how you handle I'm not an expert on Dungeons and Dragons, so, I can try to find more out if there are things that are about it that are intrinsically problematic, but...
I know there's a document, I don't recall the name of it, I thought there was a document put out by the CDF on the New Age. Janet Benkovic.
Yes, right.
Both Janet Benkovic and Father Mitch Packo, a very fine Jesuit, have written books on this stuff. So if you want a little more information, I would look at Janet Benkovic or Father Pacwa or the document from the CDF. I don't remember the name of it, but it goes into some...
But there, like, for example, I mean, the document from CDF, I don't think would talk about something like Dungeons and Dragons.
No, it would not.
Right. I mean, there's always a clear thing. We have to be very careful about the New Age, or introducing kids to witchcraft. But, when you're reading C.S. Lewis, Chronicles of Narnia, when you're reading the different gifts that are given by the elves to the fellowship in the Lord of the Rings, the Christian imagination does have this idea. I think the problem for kids, and in your case it's not the same situation, it's probably very different. I think a kid today who's maybe they were baptized, more than likely they weren't, their family isn't evangelized, so they don't have a supernatural outlook. They don't go to church on any regular basis. There isn't much of a prayer life. So this kid is living in a world with bullying. The kid's living in a world with a lot of temptations online. Kid is living in a world where they're isolated and they don't have this kind of supernatural outlook. And suddenly someone introduces them to something that has this idea of the magical or the mystical. And that speaks to our desire for eternal life. That speaks to our desire to live forever for glory. So I think the problem there is the kid isn't in the life of grace, and the kid doesn't have any guidance or mentorship. Not even presuming bad will in anybody in the family, it just isn't there. So then the kid could be really open to the occult, not open, but there's the doorway the kid can go through that's a little bit easier. Whereas a kid's living the faith, they go to church, they pray, parents are explaining the faith, then some of these things, you want to make prudent decisions about them. I think can be fine because, again, it's on a firm foundation with baptism, with the life of prayer and sacraments, then some of these things can be looked at, and, parents can talk about this. What is the difference between grace versus magic? And what are some examples in good literature of magic and how that is illuminated by Christ versus just, I want to cast spells so I can control people. So anyways, let's see here. Do we have anything? RT Liner said howdy on YouTube, so we say howdy back. Let's see, we got to that question with Ray a little bit.
Well, I wonder if I could just make one more quick
Yes,
comment, maybe
please.
as an addendum to your answer, because I think you gave a very, very good answer. But I think also, I think you're right. I think part of it is about gaining power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now the thing with the Dungeons and Dragons, I don't really know that much about that, but oftentimes, one of the things that's big in science fiction, which I tend to like science fiction, like Star Trek, Star Wars, things like that. Some of the old 50s and 60s horror movies, like with Alien, ooh, we're going to tap into this alien technology.
Right.
We're going to get this power, but then we're going to control this power, and the power always overwhelms, like the Frankenstein monster or the Id, you know, from, what was that movie?
2001.
Yeah, there was another one in the 50s with Walter Pidgeon, the Id and the monster that he creates. What was that? Forbidden Planet. So I think some of it is about tapping into power. Maybe there's a specific game, I don't know so much about that, but I think that a lot of the New Age stuff in general, I think it's about power and control. And there we want to be kind of careful.
And Jonette Benkovic had on her show over the years a number of people whose story would always share that, you know, they weren't living their faith, they were in a difficult marriage or a difficult relationship or a hard time in their life, and they got involved with white witchcraft, or they went for the occult. They got their palm read, they went for tarot card reading. And again, this was introduced as kind of harmless or innocent. And again, I don't know what I was talking about. I mean, this is part of the dilemma. The person who is the medium or in the occult, whether they know it or not, they are potentially under the influence of otherworldly spirits. And so they may get knowledge. So someone goes and gets their palm read and get told, oh, you need to make this decision. And it speaks to their life. Or they get this fortune told or their tarot cards read or something and says, you're going to have this big decision to make tomorrow. A mumble person with red hair is going to come, you know, and all of a sudden it happens. And they go, oh, I got to go back because they gave me knowledge. So it's this hidden knowledge, the occult, that comes from this preternatural world of the angels or the demons in this case, fallen angels. And so suddenly the person gets lured in because they get results. Like my marriage is falling apart, you use this spell and it seems to work. Well, if that works, what other things could I get into? And they're always under the rubric, oh, you know, so Jonette would talk to these people or has them on, and they talk about how it leads them to a darker place. Whereas, you know, faith in Christ, and he teaches us to surrender to the Father, is a surrender to God's plan. We do have a supernatural outlook, and we pray, and we can harass God, and properly speaking, with great faith, but we also learn to say, well, I want this, but your will be done, and help me to surrender to your providential plan. So that's not necessarily the same kind of manipulation as I'm going to use this spell or these elements to get this.
And the knowledge of Christ and grace, it's open to everyone. It's not a form of Gnosticism.
Right.
Well, you could have it, or the deacon could have it, but I can't have it.
Right,
That's just ridiculous.
Well, you only get this level.
Right.
Let's see here. Ray, here's a good answer, or something to contribute here from Isaac. He says, Pendragon is commonly cited as the Christian Dungeons and Dragons. Each player is inherently good since they are all playing as knights of King Arthur's Round Table. Parent involvement enhances gameplay. So, hey, that's good. Maybe Isaac and Ray might want to talk to each other. Let's see, Jonathan's here, Tess is here, Wanda's here, Trisha. Diane says, hi, Jonathan. Mary joined us. Suzette points out Jonette Benkovic got married. Her husband passed away. So she's now Jonette Williams.
Nice.
So
congratulations to her.
Yes. Wanda says, loving these chats. Thank you. You're welcome. Lori joined us. Joanne's here. Irma says, when there was a lull, I missed the memo. What masses will you have this weekend? Irma, we've just been discussing a little bit broadly. We will have mass Saturday. Well, we start daily mass Friday and Saturday at our regular times, 7 and 8:30. And then on Saturday night, we have the vigil mass at 5:30. It will be in the gym, that mass at the school. On Sunday morning, the 7th, we have the regular mass schedule, 7:30 in the gym, 9:15 in the church, 11 in the gym, 12:30 Latin in the church, 2:30 Spanish in the gym, 5:30 in the church. Suzette says, Jonette now does Wacky Wednesdays. Well worth the look into. Okay, I don't know about Wacky Wednesdays. Sounds good. Teresa says there is a game similar to Dungeons and Dragons called Road to Bethlehem, made by a Catholic family. The older kids who play D&D aren't really crazy about it, but the tweens and the younger seem to enjoy it. So there, Ray, is another idea. Bob talks about Gnosticism. We don't like that, right? Bree joined us. Hello, Bree. Let's see. What else we got? So it's 9:45. Father, any closing thoughts? Anything on your?
Well, I just think prayer and patience, especially as we approach this weekend, we'll be reopening things. Courtesy, politeness, charity, obviously, social distancing. If you feel comfortable and you want, wear a mask. Bring some wipes if you want. And hopefully we'll be able to accommodate everyone's needs as much as is humanly possible.
Absolutely. Deacon?
I totally agree. I mean, I think
This is why Deacon is so good. Everything we say, I totally agree. You guys are so smart. I love this rectory.
no, I just think we have to get in this mode when we realize we're not going back to normal as normal used to be before.
Right.
So that means we have to make an effort, and we have to realize that we have to social distance and all that, and also just be patient. I mean, we don't know how many people we're gonna have here on Sunday, so hopefully things are going to work out. I mean,
God's gonna provide. Our lady's gonna take care of us.
But if everybody is a little patient and you come prepared to just follow instructions, then things are gonna work even better. So I just think we have to have a positive attitude. It is a blessing that we are reopening churches. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at other dioceses, that's not really happening.
I got a card. I don't have it here right now. A card from a former parishioner that we knew in Fredericksburg who lives in another state. I'm not going to say where.
Okay.
But she was just so grateful for everything that the diocese is doing and all these parishes that we're doing. Because she said where they live, there's no masses, no adoration, no confessions. It sounds like no praying in the church. I mean, nothing.
I talked to someone in Florida, I don't want to say where, but let's just say Florida, and this particular friend who's had a lot of health issues has said her diocese, you couldn't even go in to pray. The churches were closed, there was nothing available.
Right.
I mean, that's hard to understand. Again, I'm not the bishop, I'm not a pastor, so, we defer to those out of obedience and, again, try to be faithful. But even not to allow the church to be open to pray, that seems kind of harsh.
Well, and again, yes, I totally agree with you. I try to put myself in their shoes. Let's say
Right.
you don't have a big staff. Let's say the pastor there is in his 60s or 70s. Let's say he's afraid
Might
of
have health
getting
issues,
sick.
or might have health, or be alone. He might not have another
He
deacon.
doesn't have anybody with him. Doesn't have a big staff.
Or not you can get them all.
Right. So maybe, again, so on one level you sit there and try to think why this happened, but the unfortunate fallout is a lot of people are suffering.
This is where, I don't know if Father Scalia is still on, but I think the wisdom of the bishop, because he's a good man, he's a hardworking man, he's a faithful man, and he's doing his best, one can only imagine, in dealing with this situation, and trying to be faithful to what the governor has done and what he's asked us to do, and giving general guidelines, but I think also at the same time letting each pastor look at their own local situation and implement policies that, while following his guidelines as best they can, but also having, I guess, enough freedom to be able to say, okay, here's what we can do at Sacred Heart. Maybe St. Mary SARS in Fairfax can't do that, or maybe St. John's in Leesburg can't do that, but maybe St. Anthony's down in Colonial Beach can. So I think you got to have one, in this particular instance, one size does not fit all.
Right. Going back to our question from Ray, he said, I found a game called Hero Kids, which is age appropriate. Thanks for all the suggestions. You're welcome. Mark Schlomer says, your approach to Dungeons and Dragons question was great. I grew up playing this with my brother and two other close friends, but it was tempered by the fact that we were raised Catholic and realized that there's truly a spiritual battle going on. I can see, though, if one's life is not surrounded by faith, how many things of the world draw us away from God. This is not like the Ouija board, which is truly a pathway to spiritual disaster.
No, he's totally correct. The Ouija board is a portal to the supernatural. And again, some people think, well, if I just tap into this power, which was the movie The Exorcist in 1973, that was based on a true story about a kid in Maryland who in the 40s tried to contact his aunt, and he used a Ouija board and opened himself up, sadly, to a lot of bad things. But ultimately, the demon was cast out by the Jesuits, and the boy did convert. So those are things we have to be very, very careful about. But I think, again, I can't speak to this because I didn't play it. I'm a little bit older. When I was playing video games, it was like the car thing or Pac-Man.
Well, again, stress that, I don't know if it's a video game now. Dungeons and Dragons is a role-playing game. It's not a video game.
Okay,
so
I didn't play that.
You have cards, and you have these different characters, and you learn kind of about your character, and you roll dice, and like, so it's almost like a choose-your-own-adventure thing where you come to a scene. Okay, this dragon's coming at you. You've got these weapons you can try to use. I have these weapons I can use, or magic spells. You roll dice to see what's going to work. I mean, it's a combination of a lot of moving parts, but I think part of it is it appeals to kids because of the fantasy, and the magic. You know, because if your life's just kind of boring, you know, everything's kind of flat. Like when this, I don't know if you ever did we watch the series Stranger Things on Netflix together? That was with that kid where there was like. Well, anyways, it's really fascinating because this kid, there's the normal existence that you see, and then there's almost this shadow parallel universe, and there's a lot of this evil spirits and stuff in there. But it's really intriguing because you're watching this horrible monster and a big undercover government project that's in this town. It's set in the 80s, and
maybe we did.
I
thought we might have seen it was a while ago. Yeah.
But again, I think for a lot of people, it's this. If your life in today, for many people, is very horizontal, and so people want to escape. You know, you go to work, you're living your life, you have your relationships, but you want more, and so you escape through travel, or you escape through, you know, good food and drink, fine, whatever. But then also, I think, for literature or movies, I think one of the big reasons that video games are often designed to be addictive, and there are some problematic elements to them, and we have to be aware of that. But I think for a lot of boys, one of the reasons why video games are so appealing is it puts them in a role of fighting against evil. They're fighting bad people, they can be empowered, they can achieve something. So even if life, in their life, seems out of control, they can get into this world, they can build, they can create, they can make their mark, they can defeat an enemy, they can work with a team of other people. I think that's why people like gangs. I think it's why people like all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
You know, because their regular life is just boring.
It's kind of a different version almost of chivalry in some sense, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. No. Let's see here. Joan said something happened to the sound. I hope it's gotten better. Teresa says, this sounds like Vermont, just dead up there. Okay. Martha says, everything's closed in the LA Archdiocese. Carolyn Borneman joined us. I haven't seen Carolyn in a while. Hope you're doing well. Rita's here. Anthony, so Anthony said, just browsed St. James and Father Scalia's Facebook page, and his Monday's Rectory rambling was about people living so long during the Old Testament. Can you elaborate on this? No, I will have to watch and see what they said. I mean, it's the question about this person lived several hundred years and all that. This is good. We could start picking like theological topics and focus on those.
Well, the only thing I would say to that, because I remember this came up when I was in college at Steubenville at a scripture class, and the professor said, well, clearly once the fall occurred, you know, lifespan was greatly shortened. But the only thing we would probably say is that as far as we know, 24 hours back then is 24 hours as a day, and a year would still be a year. So the chronological measure of time would be the same even after the fall.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, once the fall occurs, then there's a lot of other things we'd have to discuss. But so it's hard for us to fathom that Methuselah lived like 800 or 900 years, however long it was exactly. But
we should take a look at some of John Bergsma's stuff. I think he teaches at Steubenville.
Yeah, he does. He's a smart.
He's got a bunch of great books on the scriptures for Catholics.
And I think he's a good man. He was a Calvinist, I believe, but converted. Very bright guy.
Yeah.
Petrie's also a pretty good guy.
Let's see here. We will look into it, Anthony. Paulina joined us. James joined us. My sister's here. Hello, Christina.
Oh, Christina.
Are we doing well? Mary says, I'm late to the party again, but hi there. Oh, changing up the seating arrangement. Well played, fathers. Yes, we created all kinds of a ruckus by changing our seating. Darlene is here. Suzette says, thank you to all our priests, deacons, and parish staff taking care of all of us. God is so good. Thank you, Suzette. No, it's been a great learning experience. And we got the Vice family saying hi. Hello to the Vices. And wait for them to make another comment. Father, Deacon Guillermo is proposing the Blessed Sacrament. Paulina says, hi, fathers. Let's see here. Irma says, I heard a neat theory that people lived longer before the flood because there was not direct sunlight. There was not as there was after the flood. I've never heard that. I'm not familiar with that. Do you hear that?
I have not heard that. There's some interesting things, some various theories about the flood. So
yeah,
we have I'm not up on a lot of that.
We should start doing like a little research and having a topic discussion.
It would be, yeah, it would
shows.
actually be kind of interesting because, like with the dinosaurs, some people think that that it was maybe a major asteroid or something that got into the atmosphere, which put up dust in the atmosphere and kept sunlight out for decades or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have to have been pretty massive, assuming even something like that happened without destroying the planet, so that it kept the sun dark for decades, and then they died out. So I don't know.
Let's see here. What else we got going on? I think we're wrapping up. So thank you everybody for joining us. We will see you next Wednesday. Well, I'm sorry. On Saturday, we can do it Saturday night. We'll see how that goes because we'll have our regular time mass. And then maybe we can jump on and we will be able to talk again. Hang on, we got a couple more questions. Paulina says, we're so jealous that you're having public masses this weekend. I wish I was closer. Well, hopefully as things work out, maybe we can figure out like a road trip. Come on down.
And keep your priests in your prayers, please. Pray for all of us.
Yeah, because the pressure's under all the priests, yeah. Lindsay says, will you keep the Rectory Chat going even as things return to a new normal? Yes, we will, Lindsay. We are going to do this. We're just trying to figure out what's going to be, like the Wednesday night thing always seems to work because we have confessions. Even we're going to have to figure out the confessions. Once we're back in church on a regular basis, if we keep doing the confessions in the school, we can at least do that during the summer. But it seems like around 8:30 or 8:30ish we can start up after confessions finish. I got distracted because we had some ribs here.
We generally do enjoy this. I do. I don't want to speak for that.
No.
I think he does, and I think the deacon does too.
Yeah. We need to start having guests on.
We should have Father Scalia come down.
Oh, we see we can Father Scalia, but he's probably in bed now because it's 10 o'clock. He's very desperate.
He's the wisest of the bunch of us.
Yes. Let's see here. Bob says, God bless you all. Irma says, archaeologists have found human footprints near dinosaur footprints. That's interesting. I had not heard that. Mary says, Saturday confession still happening. Yes, what will happen is, for now, the confessions still, general rule, from 3:30 to 5:30 are going to be outside, in our little school locations. The Mass on Saturday night will be in the gym, with overflow in the hall, in the multi-purpose room. And so we're figuring out a way to do confessions, even potentially during Mass, down the hall inside the school. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, let's see. Paulina says, I always pray the St. Therese prayer for priests. It's a beautiful one. It is, Paulina. I really like that one. And that is beautiful. And thank you. Let's see here. Anything else over here? So we'll say a Hail Mary and give everybody a blessing. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
We can both give you a blessing. Almighty God bless you. Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So we'll see you sometime, probably Saturday night. We'll give you a report on how the masses have gone. And have a good night, and see you soon. And pray for us. We pray for you.
Be safe.